Hello, everyone. Welcome over to my channel for the second half of Truth Tuesdays.
What a sweet little entry video.
You don't like it. You said it was boring.
It's boring.
I need to make another one.
Mm-hmm.
I made one for I Am for his channel.
Oh, cool. That was nice.
He asked me to do one for him. Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to do. Okay, so we were talking about
Kenya.
A lot of stuff on the other channel. We started talking about Africa, and it's so weird to see. And like I said, the past week or so, seeing these committees like Gates and not just the loudmouths like Gates and Taylor Green and all them, but a lot of other people that I really ever heard of just saying you are lying. That's not true. And calling people out, calling the ATF out, calling the Veterans Affairs out. Just oh no, you're terrible. Oh no, that's wrong. It just not. It really also frustrates me how they like, hey, do you like to kill babies? And then the person's like, well, thank you for that question. That's a great question. And then they'll talk about like how they like chocolate or something.
I know.
It's like
no theater. Yeah.
So I can't stand watching it. If I was there, if I was in Congress and I was on the committee, I would be like, dude, I want to punch you in the face. I asked you a question 5 times. It's a yes or no question,
Okay, so there's something about asking something 3 times. I still haven't figured this part out yet, but that's some legal, we were talking earlier on my channel about the spelling and how language is so powerful, and there are these codes and unwritten, or maybe they're written somewhere, but these rules of the game that is being played that a lot of us don't know about, but a lot of them know about. Like they know Article 5, Section 22 of the Oklahoma Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll get drunk and drive around from February to May, because they know they won't get in trouble. But we don't know those same rules. And there is a rule. There's something about being asked something 3 times. And if they don't respond, then like you can get like a default on it or something. I don't know. I'm still learning a lot about some of this stuff, but there's a whole nother game going on parallel to what we know.
I think it's interesting that, and once that comes, like that one guy you were talking about on your channel, once that comes out of that guy's mouth, to me, he's done. He's finished. Like that's, he basically says, oh, I know that this exists and I want to abuse this power. So when it comes time for election, that's it. Because he didn't accidentally get drunk. Like you said, they know they can abuse that. It's not like, oh man, I accidentally, fell down and this bottle tripped over and I
Well, and that goes back to what we were talking about on my channel about the fiduciary. Like these elected officials have a fiduciary responsibility to put the needs and wishes and the benefit of the people above their own needs. And for that guy to use the Oklahoma Constitution selfishly in that way, he is violating his fiduciary responsibility to the people of Oklahoma.
He's using it for the opposite. he's putting the public at risk.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So
He's
it's not even
using
like it's just using it for his own. It's completely the opposite.
Yeah, he's absolutely putting the the people that he's supposed to be the fiduciary for
At risk.
at risk,
Yeah.
and he is, yeah, and knowingly, like, that obvious, stating, stating the rules of the game, and knowing that he's playing it, his way. The people should hold him accountable,
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, and I started talking about this on your channel, but about this guy and what he says. I think on the state level, and only a good amount of the time, a politician, the person matters. I don't think it's not that I think. I could say it doesn't matter when it comes to national. It
Mm.
doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter who you are anymore. It doesn't matter who
Because
you're
it's just
married to,
money
what
buying
your
their
religion is.
votes
It
or
used
whatever.
to, these are my kids. And nobody cares. It doesn't. Well, people still care because it's theater, but it doesn't matter because you're going to vote whatever the party that your represent is. You could literally go up there, a naked Satanist married to your car, and say, "I'm a Republican," and that's it. Everybody knows what you're going to vote for.
Mhm.
You could be the same person. I'm a Democrat. It doesn't matter you anymore. On the state level, still matters. Still matters for integrity. Still matters, I think, for the person, because and one of the main reasons is because local news will go after you. Journalism is still the protector of the truth, and they'll go after you. They'll expose you. They'll hit you.
Well, and you have to be in that society, there's accountability. Your kids go to school with somebody else's kids. Your mom goes to church with somebody else's mom. You're going to be at the grocery store. You're going to be in the community. So there is that accountability on the state and city and local level. I totally agree.
It's a lot less than it is for regular folks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that still kind of does matter. So that's why I think that will come. I mean, obviously, I think it'll come around to bite him in the butt. Um, but also, like we let you, I could say, you in Oklahoma. I don't know if we have it here in Texas, but if we did, we let that happen to where they have that ridiculous.
Right.
It shouldn't. There should be no laws
That
that
make
they're
them,
allowed to make
yeah,
that say, "Hey, this is special for us."
right.
It's not how it works. It's not how it's supposed to work. It shouldn't work. Um, so I'm interested to kind of follow that. Now I want to know, like in the election, what happens with that guy.
Well, and what's funny is, they're all holding up those signs saying that Trump is not above the law and no man is above the law and all that. And then if you're seeing this kind of stuff, which these guys, I think both of those in Oklahoma were Republican, at least one of them was. But maybe that's what one of the points that's part of the Great Awakening will be, that no one's above the law. I keep seeing more and more of this. It's really interesting watching this awakening happen, how people are like, where they say politics don't matter. I don't talk about politics. It doesn't affect me.
That's a
All this.
lie.
Yeah, no, this is so great. So our daughter, she sent us this screenshot and it says, like, due to a Supreme Court ruling, the student loan debt forgiveness plan has been halted or suspended or something like that. And I was like, yeah, honey, it's unconstitutional. I was like, as much as Joe wants to be a dictator, he's not.
He's just a dick.
He's just, yeah. Anyway, and she was like, oh, well, she goes, I was just really frustrating because, like, I applied and she goes, I would like met all the requirements and everything. And so she was like being hopeful that she was going to get this debt loan forgiveness for her student debt. So can you imagine how many people filled that out and they said approved? And then you go to that screen and it says, no, this is unconstitutional. The Supreme Court, that she wouldn't have even known that was going on.
See, here's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
See, that's your way of thinking. That's your way of thinking like a normal weirdo human being.
That is not a
Who puts
normal weirdo human being.
yeah, that's the way your weirdo humans think. And you
Okay.
put value on this person and how they feel and what happened to them.
Yeah, because I think this is the Great Awakening, and I think they're
But
constitutionally
here's
educating
why. Here's
America.
why it doesn't matter. There is no loan forgiveness. It's a joke.
Right.
I've said before that they
That's
figured
not
out that
the
they
case.
can ask for forgiveness 3 months down the road when the Supreme Court says that's unconstitutional, but they still got to get all this stuff done in 3 months, so they don't care anymore. But it's not that way so much. It's all about the country. It's about the government. It's about making the government stronger. And so here's the thing: the political party says, we'll say that in this case, the Democrats, the left, we want to give you student loan forgiveness. We want to help you. We want to do all these things. Give. Here you go. Here's a bunch of checks, whatever. And then you apply, and then she's hurt, and because it's unconstitutional, that's not it.
Yes, that
Because
is
what happens is, hey, we did it, and the Republicans stopped it. It's not unconstitutional. The Republicans stopped it. That side did wrong.
but the
That side,
Supreme Court is
but
who
that's who is
stopped it.
stacked with those Republicans. We got to fix the Supreme Court and get that sucker packed so it's
Get you
fair. So we
free.
can give you that stuff that we gave you and they took away.
Every blue collar guy in America should be paying for those doctors'
That's what
loans.
they do pay for doctors.
Right.
But that's I think the overall plan. The thing about Ukraine,
Hmm.
you think about Ukraine in forms of our soldiers going there and dying. European soldiers going there and dying. Right, it's not about that. It's not even about so much. Well, I'm going to say the money, but you got to think of the United States government as a hive mind and as a living thing that wants to grow and live and have control. And there's a mountain, and we're at the top. We've been at the top for a long time. Um, and there's Russia, and there's China, and I mean to lesser extents other countries and groups that are try to knock us off. They want to be the superpower, and the United States, technically the US government, doesn't want that. We want to be the leader and the leader of the world, and we are. You can and whether you love Joe Biden and you're 100% behind Joe Biden, you have to admit that his administration's COVID policies wrecked our economy. And most of the world just followed suit of what we were doing, and they've ruined their economies as well. You could say, it was a great economy. You could say it was from Trump. You could even say that Trump just rode the wave of the great things that Obama did, and he didn't do crap. No matter what your political ideology is, it was a good economy. Policies made it now a terrible economy, and we're in trouble.
Hmm.
So we have other powers that are going to try to knock us off. There's military ways to do that. There's economic ways to do that. Everyone says that China by 2030 or 33 will be the dominant economic superpower and just the superpower in general, and will knock us off the mountain then, or unless we do something. So I don't think we care that much. We're not that worried about Russia. But we are worried, but not as much as China. China's the main threat
Which that's a new focus
overall.
because for a while it was Russia, Russia, Russia. Now they are starting to pay attention to China, which is,
But here's the thing about what they're doing. We're just
or
bleeding
most
them
of our
now. When they were the evil empire, when it was us versus them, we were at war, the Cold War, but it was a war.
hmm
We got them to spend themselves into bankruptcy, into oblivion. We beat them. We won economically, but we crushed them. They broke apart, and then they rebuilt. So what we're doing now is there's Russian troops dying. They're throwing all of their resources, money, they're bleeding. They're bleeding, and we don't have to worry about them. So as long as we can keep that going, and we can keep all these other countries supporting that, we're bleeding Russia to where we don't have to worry about them knocking us off, and we can focus 100% on China, because we've never fought anyone like China since like the big wars. Um, Anything we've done hasn't been that far away. China was 14,000 miles away. For us to send tanks or anything there, the logistics are terrible. They're completely surrounded by their own allies. We have got Guam in
Isn't that
Japan.
why we were like trying to give nukes to or sell nukes to Australia and all that?
No, if we're talking, we really do go to fight, we need bases.
Okay.
And we have, if even in Guam, we have to get like special permission from the king, and it's a small place.
Oh yeah,
We can't, and then to send, we've never even even right now in Afghanistan, we have bases in Afghanistan. And it's only 7,000 miles away, and we have bases in the Middle East. Throughout Europe, we have tons of bases. We have infrastructure. We have not hardly anything there in the Pacific when it comes to that to like land bases, and it's twice as far as any kind of operations that we've been
in the
doing.
middle of nowhere. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing around it. Yeah.
So it's so huge. It's a much bigger undertaking than we've ever done, and the government hive mind knows that, and it knows that that's the biggest threat to our dominance in the world. So bleeding Russia is just costing us paper that we're printing up, and that's it. And they're going to, I mean, if they were strong and then, partnered up with China, that's an even bigger threat. But so it's a fine line that we're running, but I think that's like, I think the main, and it made so much sense here in this CIA agent, just kind of lay it out like that. It's like,
Where did you see that video that he was speaking about that?
I'll send you the link on it.
Okay.
It's this dude that he just talks to like a former military, it's Navy SEALs. It's like a 2A kind of channel. But this dude also had amazing hair. The CIA agent, the best hair I've seen in forever.
It's got all the secrets.
It's like super curly, nice, like long hair. It was really cool. I was like, wow, man, I wish I had that hair. But I used to when I was a youngster. But
When you were
to hear him talk about, and he also said the thing about like career politicians. Once it's a career, they don't care about the American people, and even if they do, it's like a second or third priority. Their career is first, and then what they're going to do for their family, and their success. That then it's what they do for their districts and all.
That's what it means to be held accountable. Like if they are trustees or a fiduciary, I mean, depending on what the contract is or what they're like, that whole, when we were talking on my channel about the legislative immunity and all that, there still should be some kind of rules or laws or whatever position that they are in, that they have responsibilities. And if they're violating those responsibilities, then they should be held accountable for that.
You make a good point on that. When it comes to like your state level, like I said, I think there's still merit there when it comes to politics. But on the national level, it's a career. There is no fiduciary responsibility anymore. I think it's 100% to their own career. I think John had a really good point that you can't have politicians on the national level anymore. I think you have to have either like he had said jury duty, or massive limits on terms or on party, because if not, I don't think it obviously doesn't work. It doesn't work because they're not fiduciarily responsible for what they're supposed to be responsible for. They don't vote. They don't vote their conscience. They don't, and it's not even that they don't vote their conscience. They don't read what they're voting for, so they're not. They don't have to vote their conscience.
They couldn't possibly read what they're voting for.
Yeah.
I mean, they're voting in 24 hours on bills, 6 feet tall.
And we have
Not
to
even
take
possible
responsibility that we accept that.
that we allow it. Yeah.
And those are real questions that I've seen that have been asked in the past month. Hey, this is 3,000 pages. You got it 24 hours ago. Why are you doing a vote? There's no way you could have read it. And then it's just like the end of Indiana Jones. Hey, this has been being worked on for months by top men. Men. And it's not like we have to read it. We know that it's good because top men. Okay, best.
Tippy top.
And it's like, okay, but that sounds goofy, but that's literally what we do. Okay, we're allowing that. That's not the biggest thing when we run for election. Hey, you voted for that 3,000 page thing that you didn't read. It's when it come up, it's not a real thing. We accept it. So we got to accept responsibility for that, or that should be one of the biggest things of the election. How can you vote for shit that you don't read? And I don't remember that ever being a question in the past, 20 years?
Well, I think that's what, Robert Beatles is trying to do with that group with Operation Sunlight. I put it in the links of all my descriptions on my videos, but you can go and they kind of help you get involved and plugged in your local area because there was crazy stuff like there are for the counting boards, there'll be positions or seats available and they will not advertise it or let people know in the community because the people that are on the board just want all the control. And so you can they help you find out on this website, and there's other ways to get involved, but I thought that was pretty telling. I mean, just like you're saying, the powers that be want all the control.
Yeah. And everything's connected. It really is. It's so weird to, and it sounds cliche to say it, like what is it? Dirk Gently, the holistic detective. Everything's connected to the universe. Science and facts have been under attack for so long. And we're like, that's stupid. Doesn't make sense. Why? Because the destruction of facts, and we can circle this around to Africa after this, but the destruction of facts and makes people openly stop having definitions and parameters of what something is. Did you know that one of the biggest and oldest women's colleges now, where Chelsea Clinton went, it was a women's college. They now say that they are taking anyone can go if they just identify as women, say they're a woman, because that's how it is, because they're all women. So now you can go to this women's college. All you gotta do is say you're a woman.
Okay.
And so basically what was I talking about? Oh yeah, saying that the definitions of things, so that when you do see, because they don't hide it, they put it in plain sight. Evil comes in the night. If you're doing something shady, they're going to do it in the middle of the night. They're like, here's this bill that we haven't ever read, and we're going to pass it at 3 a.m. See, to your logical mind, you're like, hey, if you're a cop and you see a bunch of guys out at 3 a.m. shifting around doing something, you're going to be like, hey, that looks suspicious. What are you guys doing?
Speaking of which, this weekend, the Fed had a closed door meeting that was not open to the public, and they didn't make a public statement about it. Wonder what that was about. Sure, it's nothing.
I guess we will have to wonder, because it was a closed door meeting.
Yeah.
And then so the stuff about Africa, has been really. It's like, and it's not.
Are you talking about the Nigeria stuff or? The
No, I'm talking
Kenya
about
stuff.
a lot of other things.
Okay.
But it's not, and I don't want to get into argument about the politics or what they're
Oh, I
saying.
do.
It's just what they're doing. It
Okay.
doesn't matter what it's for. The fact that they did it. So, like the UN and even like UNICEF and other aids, to give them money
Mm-hmm.
to these, and they're impoverished, and they will stand up, and they have pride, and that's so cool to see that you can have dignity and pride and be broke, and they're like, hey, you don't accept, same-sex marriages or this, and they're like, yeah, that goes against what the people of my country believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And the president's like, so we're not okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I said. Don't want to argue that, whether that's bad or whatever, but that we have a belief, and we think this is how, we don't want to accept it. They're like, well, we're not going to give you this money. And I literally have seen like two presidents say, that's okay. We would rather have our principles and be poor.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear a national leader not give it whatever it's for, whether it's like, hey, let us, attack these people, or use for whatever it is, and we'll give you this money. And they're like, no, we would rather not be involved in it. We don't want, whatever. We're against war.
Good.
Anything that they could,
Yeah.
that a country
It
would
can't
stand
be
up for
bought.
and not be bought. Exactly, to
Yeah.
not be bought, legally bought, but it happens all the time. And to see them say that, it's like, just, it blows my mind. And to not, and it's not like it's easy to turn down a job if you have plenty of money, but to be able to say, no, I'm not going to do that because I think it's wrong,
Right. You know that your country or your
but I'm
family
broke.
could
Yeah.
use it. Yeah. Yeah.
Um.
No, I get it.
So and very few people, do that anymore. There's another thing I was gonna talk about with you. I don't know if you knew about this. That's a whole nother show. It really kind of freaked me out when I learned about it. When it came to the our veterans,
Mm.
and the things that we did to them. What do we got here? State level is so corrupt too. It is, and it also depends on the country. I mean, the state. Certain states are really, really bad. Certain states are not so bad. It's all about the money. But I am for am. That's not as bad as it's maybe what a quarter of it is on the national level. I think Operation Sunlight is the way to do that, Chi-Chen. We have to start over from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, like, Beatles and a lot of people believe that we can rebuild it from the bottom up, but the top is so bad and so corrupt that they'll try to stop me. Look at the parent school board thing. They literally, the FBI went after regular mom and dads,
Parents who got involved at their own children's
and
school.
said that they were the same as the people that murder Americans. They were a domestic terror. They called them that. That is what we're up against. That's why I don't think building up the bottom will work anymore, because the top is too powerful, and also they're not checked at all. They don't care. They went to that level. They don't care.
Well, if they have that, legislative immunity, sovereign immunity, but they're starting to show their hand publicly with that.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. They don't care about showing their hand. They're like, hey, we'll do this. What are you going to do?
That's when the people are going to say,
hopefully,
wait a minute, rules for thee
yeah,
and not for me. No.
The people haven't said that yet, or really stood up.
Yeah. They are in France. They're burning that place down.
And also, no one's talking about that when it comes. Most people don't even know about it.
Know that's going on.
And you were saying about, people say, oh, I don't care about politics. I don't believe. Those are the same people.
Mhm.
My kids are the worst. My kids are smart, intelligent people,
Mm.
and the most they're like, I don't care at all about politics. That's the most, well, no way. But when I bring something up, party lines comes out of their mouth.
Mm.
Oh, J.K. Rowling. Oh, terrible racist. Hates people. And I'm like, you don't even know. She said there's only two sexes. That's the only thing she said.
Right.
That's it. She just said, I believe in scientific. That's it. And they're like, no. She's like, because you still hear it.
So they're just hearing like mainstream media
Yeah,
headlines
and their friend
and
says
hearing
it,
it.
and
Yeah.
their blue haired friend who's like crazy, is going to spout all this ridiculous stuff, and they'll be like, "Wow, that's crazy. You're my friend, and I trust you, but I
Right.
don't want to get involved." But they still heard it. They still heard it, and it's still
Well,
that sinks in.
so Westwood and I talked about this on Friday a little bit because what I'm seeing is we have trusted celebrities and mainstream media and all that so long, and when I'm saying we Americans and general public have been the sheeple of what they told us. They told us, somebody told me, but not thinking for ourselves or discerning for ourselves. And there's been this thing lately where even in the truther movement, and the other day I got totally triggered because Kayleigh McEnany made this statement that Pence was this godly American man and the most godly man and whatever. And I'm like, he's a traitor. He's literally a treasonous, disgusting piece of crap. And I couldn't believe Kayleigh McEnany was saying that. And then I had to check myself and I was like, okay, is this part of people have to stop looking at a celebrity or a talking head or somebody? Well, I don't want to think for myself. I don't want to do my own research.
Devil's advocate, Lisa.
Let me
Devil's
finish.
advocate. I want to
I'll just
stop you for 1 second.
align with what
What
they
did he
say.
do? Why is he a traitor? Why is he so terrible?
Are you kidding me?
I don't want to be the kid who does not, interested in politics, and you're the blue haired person.
Okay.
Why? Just I want to ask us why.
Because he had to certify the count of our choices, and he did.
Didn't he have
neglected
to?
his duty.
But didn't he have to certify it?
But there were other things he could have done.
Like?
Investigate. Ask for an investigation.
He is within the beast of the government. The government is in control.
I don't want to hear an excuse.
It's not an excuse. There's reasons, though. I don't think he is super, super terrible. I think he was caught between a rock and a hard place. And I think I don't think he had many options. I think he could have said,
either take the position and do your job or be held accountable.
I think he could have said, hell no, we won't go. And then we would have had to go to the place where they say that we went to anyway. I think if Trump would have said, hey, you don't certify it and we're taking this shit over. Once again, he has a choice. We go to this dark place and I go there.
But then you're admitting he had a choice.
No, I think Trump would have had to have told him,
and he chose not.
We're going to go to the dark place. I'm going to tell people to insurrect. I'm going to tell people to rise up, and we're going to take it by force. That's outside of
his control. That's not his responsibility at that point. It's your responsibility to do the right thing, not manipulate, not because of someone else's behavior or actions. It's your responsibility to do the right thing. And he could have done the right thing and he didn't. But that wasn't my point. My point was that I feel like we're getting to this place of like people need to start listening to themselves and discerning for themselves and doing the research for themselves. And, yes, listen to people and get information and education, but then like, what do we always say in crypto? Trust, but verify,
Mm-hmm.
Do the work, verify. So everybody can have their own opinion and you are responsible for that decision that you make. And
Jim brought this up, which I'm a little mad about because I didn't want to talk about it. I just said that I was going to probably have a whole show on it. So we actually did rise up. Oh, if we actually did rise up in the military, we bring out the tanks and mow us down. Already happened looking into it. Central banks run the military. You think that would happen?
I don't think it would happen that way. No.
Well, you're wrong.
Well, I'm not.
Because let me tell you what happened. The veterans stood up and went to the government because they were promised payment when they came back from the war. They were promised a payment like in a year or 2 years or something, and the government didn't give it to them. Screwed them over. So they went to Washington peacefully, protested, but a huge number of them protested. So FDR called out the troops. The current active, and these weren't like old vets. These are people that were in the military, and just fought and died and were maimed 3-5 years ago. These were people who were just active duty. So there were literally people coming to fight them that they were friends with, that they knew, that they served with, that were still in. The government sent into D.C. against them 200 cavalry with sabers drawn, like 400 or 800 foot soldiers behind them, and tanks and other armor into D.C. against these just regular people. It was led by MacArthur and General Patton. Much worse. One of the veterans who was there at the protest, who was in the front, was a leader, had a Purple Heart, Iron Cross, some kind of a bunch of awards because he saved General Patton's life in the war. He saved him. And Patton spat on that and went after them. And they drove them back to outside of D.C. to over this bridge, over this river. And the president said, that's it, get them out to there. MacArthur said, screw that, I'm in charge. It's a military operation. Crossed the bridge, mowed everything down, burnt all the buildings, razzed the ground. You could see the fire. It was like huge. There's like film and pictures from when it happened. The president watched it, looked out his window, saw it, went to bed. So it's all done. Everything is just ashes the next day. That guy who saved General Patton's life went to the command, and Patton wouldn't even let him in. Had him escorted out, wouldn't even look at him. That's what our military did to our veterans. That's already happened. So to say that wouldn't happen, it already did. That's our MO.
Well, you have to define rise up. You have to define how things would happen. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen before it comes to a form of physical force or violence. I don't think it has to be violent. I don't think that's the way. So rising up can be done in other ways. And I think things like our friend IAM's idea with the umbrella promise, I think ideas about building new things. I think things about educating ourselves, Uncle Cliff's Vox Populi, letter writing campaign. He's waking legislators and their staff up right and left. You can jump on his Substack, learn about that. You can be part of Operation Sunlight. You can educate your family about the Constitution, trusts, and there's lots of things you can do. That doesn't have to go to physical violence.
Well, true, but if you can point out what that's done, and I don't think it really works. You can do it. I mean, you can eat bugs, but
not me.
I don't think it's good for you. Yeah, not made to, but you can. I think that there's a certain point where it's, we dropped a nuclear bomb on Japan, and that worked. That ended everything. You can't get more violent than that, and that is what ended that war. I think when you look at history and you look at it's insanity. When you do the same thing over and over again, you expect a different result. It's insane. If you
Yes.
think that you can go and do this because that the military won't come and mow you down, then you're insane because it's happened already.
Right.
So I think that
So why would you do that?
but here's the big deal, and this is where the Second Amendment comes into play. If you look at what happened in with what's his name, Bundy.
They're pushing hard to take that away.
Yeah, but like Bundy, the government came and they said, "Hey, we're taking this over," and like 10 people stood up and said, "No, you're not," and they were armed, and the government's like, "Whoa, okay, we're going to do it, but we're going to come back," and then they came back stronger, but then there were more people, and then they came back stronger, but there were more people, but they were all armed, and they're like, if you want to try and take it, I think it's illegal. You're going to kill us anyway. You look at Ruby Ridge, you have to look at what's happened. You look at Waco, they're going to kill you. So either you fight back or you don't. That's it. You're going to die or you're going to give it up. And I think that's where people have to come to the realization, like Pence, like you were talking about. You either have to go to the dark place or you give it up. And I really think that's where
Doesn't
we're
mean
at.
they shouldn't be held accountable for their choices. If that's the choice you make, then you also accept the consequences of that choice.
Right. So either you that's what I was saying. If you're gonna die or give it up, and you're not gonna give it up, then you either fight and die or you just die. And maybe you fight and win. Like they stood up and they're like, "We're ready to fight you," violently with violence, and the government backed down because they're not. That's the one thing that they don't want to do. That's one thing they're scared of.
Well, because even if they win, they don't win because it's all over the news and they attack their own people and all that.
And I don't even think that they're scared of that anymore. I think they're scared of the ball starting to roll. Like we talked about
I agree.
I had said that now when Trump started calling for protests and things, the people that are going to protest aren't the same people that protested, like, with Antifa and Floyd. And they're not like going to go tear up a Target store, break some windows and just violence. These are when those people stand up, when those people like, oh, we're crossing the line now. That violence isn't just indiscriminate. It's for a purpose. It's like, no, you've pushed us too long. Now we're going to push back against you. Now we're going to hurt you. We're going to do violence to you. And that's what scares them because they don't want those people, to cross that line. And even if they win, like you said, that's going to piss off a lot of people. If my cousin went up there, to stand with Bundy or somebody, and then they were killed, that's when you get to different people. That's when now it's kind of a vendetta. Now I have more reason. Now I'm one of those people that don't care about politics and don't, ever listen to anything. But you killed my friend, you killed my family member.
Right. It's personal.
You pulled me into it. And now I have to take part in it. I think that's where we're at, which is it's a scary place. But I've been saying this for a long time.
You've been saying it for a long time. I know it. It's interesting. Well, I won't jump into that.
What?
I was gonna say this week, talking about, I don't know, with all the FTX stuff, and then now more stuff coming out where he's, paying bribes, or taking bribes from China, all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This week we're talking about fraud on World Blockchain Roundtable crypto fraud. And anyway, I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, the Nashville thing was a crazy thing. That's a whole thing. But we're talking about that with the whole Trump thing, and it's kind of re-brought to the surface. Biden. And I've watched everyone. They don't even say the word. They don't say what he did, or what he was accused of by what's her name, Tara Reid. Tara Reid. Her name is just like the MTV chick. But anyway, so she tweeted again, and I forget who started talking about how she said that she was Biden's aide, and he raped her.
Oh, really?
In the Capitol building, physically, and
wow.
and this is where they're calling the left out, because they're not, feminism isn't about women, it's about the left's agenda.
Yeah.
Because it's not about believe all women, it's only believe certain women. Because this woman came out, it was like there was a lot of corroborated stuff, and she said that she was violently and physically assaulted by the former vice president, and it was super hushed up. And now with because that
So did he have legislative immunity then? Is that included in that? I don't think so.
no,
No.
I don't think it is. That would definitely be some kind of public affray. That would be pretty disturbing. But that it's on the right, and people are starting to bring it back up, and they're talking about now because with the Republicans in charge of stuff, they can bring her in and have testimony before Congress about that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much when you look at, and that's the thing, dude. You have to when you look at it, there's facts right in front of you. There's like this one guy had an affair with a porn star, slutty chick, and didn't want anyone to know about it because that's he should have just been like, hey man, I screw porn stars. That's yay. But he didn't, and he paid her money. Allegedly, what he did. Let's say he did. But that's it. When you look at what Clinton did, he paid money to hush up allegations of rape, and other bad things.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at what the former vice president may have paid or tried to cover up allegations of heinous felonies, where it wasn't a felony what Trump did. He wasn't even a crime.
Right.
It was just kind of icky, because
Well,
she
and
was a whore.
it's possible that he didn't even do that.
No, but
They're saying that
he what he was trying to cover up wasn't a crime. Screwing a
he
porn
may not
star
have
is
been
not a
covering up
crime.
anything. He may not have done anything.
I
They're
know.
saying that
You don't have to defend it, man. It's not. I don't want to
Cohen
argue about defending. Come on.
Michael Cohen
But
may have
he
been
gets
having an
none of
affair
that.
and
But none of that matters here. What he did wasn't a crime. He had sex with a porn star. What?
allegedly.
No, he said he did. What
No, he did
Clinton?
not. He said the whole thing was made up.
What Clinton and what Biden allegedly did are horrible felonies. So it's like, and then when you see like the fervor that they go after one person and how they ignore the other one,
Mm-hmm.
it's blatant.
Yeah.
You have to not look at what facts are in order to allow it
That's the media.
to go on.
That's the media, wants to tell the story, They hope everybody believes. It's like what I was talking about earlier with the discernment. They think, well, where'd you hear that? Where's the link? You start looking at think about these things critically and listen to yourself.
I'm glad you brought up Paula Jones. I forgot her name, but yeah, that was Paula Jones.
Which one was that? Was that a Clinton girlfriend?
Yeah, it was way back. She's pretty brown
Before
hair.
Monica.
Huh?
Before Monica.
Yeah, this was. I think it was governor.
Oh.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, did I tell you about my little brother went to military school and his girlfriend was Clinton's pilot.
Mm-mm.
And he would tell these stories about how Clinton would have these young girls brought to the oh, the dog must be chewing on something.
Jesus Christ.
He has a new puppy. But they would he'd have the highway patrol pick up these young girls and bring them to the airport and to the tarmac for trips. Disgusting humans. Somebody better get over there and help him with that dog. He's gonna be in trouble.
They just brought the fucking groceries in and put them on the floor. Dog's going through all the
Oh no!
gnawing on salami and shit. Okay. Love y'all. I'm gonna go.
Okay,
Guys,
love
take
you.
care.
Have a great weekend or
Bye.
week. Have a great week.